I'm doing a series in the book of Daniel called Revolution Resolutions. I believe that there's some things in Daniel that if we apply them to our lives, if we resolve to make these things a part of who we are as Christians, then we can revolutionize our lives and allow God to use us in ways more than what we can expect. Um, and the part one is never to do evil toward God. Daniel 1 verse 2 says that, and the Lord delivered Jehoiakim, king of Judah, into his hands, talking about Nebuchadnezzar, along with some of the articles from the temple of God. These he carried off to the temple of his God in Babylonia and put in the treasure house of his God. Now, see, God isn't pleased when his children sin and rebel against him and turn from him. And sooner or later, God is not going to allow his glory, his treasure, to remain on a people who disregard his ways. We we have to realize that this wasn't a one-time issue with Judah or Israel or the people of that called themselves the people of Yahweh. This was something that happened time and time again in their history. Well, this progression and continuation of sin caught up with them. Even though they were warned time and time again, they still chose to rebel. Well, we can read about Jehoiakim in 1 Kings 23:37. It says that he did evil in the eyes of the Lord, and it says that some of the articles in the temple were taken. Then his son Jehoiakim became the king of Judah, and he did evil in the eyes of the Lord, and all the treasures of the house of the Lord were taken. You would think that there would be some type of waking up that took place, but no. Jehoiakim's uncle Zedekiah in 1 Kings 24:19 and 20 and 25:9, he did evil and God in the eyes of God, and God was fed up with the people. And so God allowed Nebuchadnezzar to come in and starve the people, and then he burnt down all the important places, the king's house, and most importantly the temple. The temple, the place where the people of God said, this is our symbol, this is where the presence of our God is, and now it's gone. And see, the issue is people's behavior affects God. We don't realize that. We don't go through the day and think that our actions affect God, but they do. And on the flip, those actions affect us more than we think. God's not going to be thrilled with the way we live, and sooner or later, our sin is going to find us out. Our sin is going to catch up with us. The attitude is people they could care less about God's reaction to what they do. They live for the pleasure of today. All sin is toward God. We have to remember that. All sin is toward God, and sin destroys the relationship between us and God. Whether intentionally or unintentionally, it messes up that relationship. And God methodically removed the sight of his presence from those people. And I believe he will do that to people who constantly say, run to the altar for forgiveness, but continue to live in their sin. Strike one, God removed some of the things, some of the treasure that was there, but some of it was still there to remind them still of God's glory. Now strike two, God allowed all the treasure to be taken. Only the symbol of his presence remained. Strike three, everything. People were broken, and the essence of God's presence is entirely wiped out and removed from this people. His temple was gone. Choose not to. The solution to this is to choose not to do wrong towards God. 1 Peter 1:15 says, "Be just as he who called you, but just as he who called you is holy, so be holy in all that you do." That's it. That's one of the main things. We have to realize that we are meant to be a holy people, and we don't try. We think, oh, I'm human. Well, yeah, you're human, but you're also supposed to be a child of God. Another thing that's part of a solution is don't compromise. Compromising our own actions, but also approving of wrong behavior. If we do wrong, we need to confess it immediately. And sometimes we don't. We sweep it under the rug, and then that weighs down on us, that guilt, and we start to feel that we're not the people that God wanted, and we start to feel that, well, I've done it once, I can do it again, and continue that process of continuing to sin, and that progression then of God removing His presence out of our lives. Where your heart is, that is where your treasure will be. What are we passionate about? What you feed determines why and how you do the things you do. If you feed your flesh is going to be strong. If you feed your spirit is going to be strong. So if my flesh is strong, I'm always going to continue to act according to my flesh. But if my spirit is strong, my spirit is mighty inside of me, then I'm going to do the things that won't displease God. The stand that we need to make is we resolve never to do evil toward God. We will not intentionally do something that dishonors God or us as Christians. We will not compromise, nor will we approve of wrong living.